Good morning. It's time for another Monday morning high five. We are in the last chapter of the book of Joshua, chapter 24. Um, Giving you the brief summary of chapter 24. The heading in my Bible says the covenant renewal at Shechem. Um, so basically, Joshua gathers all the tribes of Israel to Shechem. Um, well, when I say all the tribes, all the elders, all the heads of the tribes, um, and they're there. It says they presented themselves before God. And then Joshua basically kind of runs down Israel's history, the start of Israel as a nation. It all started with God coming to Abraham and promising him that he was going to make him a great nation. Um, so from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob, Moses and Aaron, he talks about how they were slaves in Egypt, but he brought them out. He sent plagues to Egypt to bring them out. They get to the Red Sea. He parts the Red Sea for them to cross on dry ground. Um, like all the battles that they had, even in the wilderness. There were prophets that were trying to curse Israel, but God wouldn't let the prophet curse Israel. All the battles that they fought, um, the the people, the Amorites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Girgashites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, all of these people that they fought against, and God gave them victory. God gave them the territory of the people that He promised. It was well inhabited, but God gave them the territory. He was the one who did the fighting for them. Um, and so in verse 14, it starts that famous section that you hear about. Joshua challenges them, choose who you're going to serve. For me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. I can't make your choice for you, but I can choose for my house. We're gonna serve God. You need to decide who you're gonna serve. Um, the people say, "Yeah, we're gonna serve God." Joshua comes back again and goes, understand, God is a jealous God. He's not going to put up with you saying, oh, yeah, we're serving God. And you have these idols. You have these other gods that your fathers, your ancestors used to serve. You need to get rid of that. Only serve God. They say, okay, yeah, no, we're going to do it. And so Joshua takes a stone and he writes the law of God, and he sets it by the tabernacle, and he says, this is going to be a witness. This is going to be a witness against you, either for you or against you, that you agreed today that you were going to serve God. Um, this isn't the first time we've seen them set up stones as a memorial. Um, I think it was, Joshua's mindset was like, you every time you walk past this stone, you have to look at it and go, oh, I promised. Yeah, I made a promise. I said I was going to, Um, and so then the book of Joshua, it ends uh, kind of letting us know how Joshua dies. He dies at the age of 110. Um, all all while he was alive, Israel served God. Like, I guess, his influence or the respect they had for him, they served God all while he was alive. While I guess you could put it, his cabinet, his collection of leaders, all while they were alive, the nation itself had a direction, they had a focus to serve God. They even mentioned that the bones of Joseph, that Joseph died in Egypt, but he told them, don't bury me here. When you get your inheritance, bury me in the land God promised. And they fulfill that promise. They bury him at Shechem. All of the people connected to the move of conquering the land, they respected them. They had a great respect for them, and so if the story was to end here, it'd actually be a really happy ending. You know, happy ending. Like they followed Joshua, they followed Moses. They did a lot of complaining. They did some, some idol worship a little bit on the side. But if it just ended here, it'd be a happy ending. They served God, all the days of Joshua's life. Unfortunately, there are other chapters after Joshua 24. So that's kind of the brief summary. Um, so I'll start. The thing that I saw that really stood out to me, it kind of fit with a point that Pastor Manuel was talking about Sunday, um, just in the sense that Joshua is reminding the people all of this started with Abraham. All of this started with God making a promise to Abraham of Abraham, I'm going to make you a great nation. That's the promise. However, and so that's the promise. Abraham believes that promise. He believes God. And it tells us that's why God called him righteous. That's why God accounted him as righteous. However, when Abraham dies, he doesn't have a great nation. He has two sons. He has Isaac and he has what was it? Ishmael. Ishmael and Isaac. Those are his two sons. He does not have the promise, but he passes on the belief in the promise to his son Isaac. Isaac doesn't have the promise. He has two sons, Jacob doesn't have the promise. He has a bunch of sons, but the land that God has promised Abraham, he when he dies, they're not in possession of it. As a matter of fact, when you get to when you look at Jacob, that's when they go into Egypt. They don't have any land in the promised land. They're in Egypt. And all while Joseph's alive, it's good. But then that's eventually they become slaves in Egypt, which God had already told them was going to happen. But the idea behind it is just that God, um, even just looking at it, God has done all of this. God had just brought them through all of these things, and no matter how much they didn't see the promise, the reason that they were successful in getting through everything that they went through is because they believed the promise. As long as they believed the promise, they had success. Every time they decided, no, we don't believe, that's when things started going wrong. That's when things would go bad. That's when they were defeated. Whenever they stopped believing in God, believing that God would fulfill his promise, that's when things fell apart. And so the challenge from Joshua is if you believe God, if you continue to believe God, you've seen all the success. You've
Yeah.
seen it. Continue to believe. So, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of along the same lines of what you're saying. Uh, when Joshua talks about like he's telling them all these things that God has done, he's like, you've seen it. Like you've seen God do this, something you couldn't do. Like you've seen God work these miracles that you couldn't do. Like you've seen all these things with your own eyes. And for him to have to tell Israel to put away their idols, like their other gods, like it almost seems like why does he even have to say that, seeing as you haven't seen your idol do anything? Like you created your idol and it hasn't done anything, or you found your this idol and it hasn't done anything. But you've seen with your own eyes God do all these things in your life, and Joshua still has to remind them. And the reason I believe he has to remind them is because, like he said earlier, like their ancestors served these gods. Like you kind of grew up on hearing about these other gods, or you kind of grew up maybe knowing about these other gods, and that could be ingrained in you. But there, this is a reminder to remind you that that is not a real God. Like the real God, you've seen do all these things. The one that you have heard about, or the one that you may have seen set up somewhere else, like it hasn't done these things for you, you know. And Joshua just, has to remind the people, because it's kind of in their culture at this point. They're,
Yeah.
like I say, they grew up hearing about it, they grew up maybe experiencing it. And so Joshua's trying to, like, we have to remove this culture from you. We have to remove this thought that this is okay, that this is a real God. Like, it's not. And so we need to, as you're in this land, as you are serving God, like, you can't do both. You can't have serve God and then mix in like a little bit of your old previous culture with some of your previous idols. You may not have brought all 10 with you, but maybe, squeeze in one. Like, this is my favorite one. You
Right.
can't do both. It's, if you're serving God, then that's who you're gonna serve. And the reason you should be serving him is because of the things you've seen him do. Like, if you were just to line up like God and your idols and say, okay, which one has done more for you? It shouldn't even be, well, let me think. This idol has done this. There's not even a discussion. It's like, nah, like, well, I've seen God do this. I've seen God brought us here. I've seen God part the Red Sea and allow us to walk through, and then close the Red Sea and kill all of Egypt and the chariots. And I've seen that. Like, where was the God during that? Where was the idol during that time? You hadn't created it yet. Exactly. And so you just, like, Joshua has to remind, because he knows they're gonna go back. He knows they're gonna, some memories, some talk, some thoughts, some talks are gonna come up, and the people are going to maybe revert back to their culture, revert back to what they have heard or what they've known. And Joshua is trying to remind them to serve God, not your previous life, like God. That's the one you've seen do all the miracles, and that's the one you've seen do all the work. So that's what kind of stood out to me, and that just kind of puts in the context like that, because that he says that in like 14, and then once you get to 15, which is kind of, that famous, as for me in my house, it just kind of puts it, for me, it kind of puts it into a little more context, understanding like the speech before this, and not
Yeah.
just, not like he just woke up and said this one day. So yeah.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, as you were talking, like you, like it really just the the people in verse 16, they say it, right? They say
Right.
it. They say, "Far be it from us that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods." Right? And I mean, that's, there's so much truth in that statement, especially when you consider any other god you would serve, in most likelihood, that was a god that was defeated by the living God. You know?
Right. Hmm.
Like, these were guys that the other people had, that they were counting on to protect them, and
Right.
they didn't win. Like, you defeated them with your living God. So
Hmm.
you're gonna go back to serve the God that got defeated? Like, that's what you're gonna do? Like, I know you didn't win. You didn't win, but it's okay. I would still serve you. Like, what?
Yeah.
But again, you could, it's funny to say it about them, but we do it all the time too.
Right.
Like, we
Right.
serve, we will, not, we'll miss opportunities to serve the real God because, oh well, no, I gotta go to work, or no, I want to hang with my friends. I want to do this. I want to do that. And God
Hmm.
is going, okay, okay. I mean, like, I don't see how that makes sense, but okay, like,
Right. Right.
you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. We put everything before him today. Um, yeah. It's that same concept, same thing. And then it just, I have this, like, far off, like, far be it from us. Like, oh no, that's so far away. Like, that's the furthest thing in my mind.
right,
Like,
right.
Oh, all right. We'll see how shallow your mind is.
No, you're right. Like, nah, nah. The idol is in the back of the closet. It's not even. I haven't even set it up. I just moved into the new house. I haven't even set up the idol. I don't. You don't even have to worry about the idol. Don't even
Right,
worry.
right.
You
I,
guys
I,
go in. Like, you need to get rid of it. Like, don't tell me how far it is. You need to get rid of it. Like,
right. Like I don't even have my idle tools with me. Like, nah, we're good.
right. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's yeah. Just I mean, you look at it and you just like I said, if it ended in chapter 24, it's such a beautiful picture, like the
Right.
respect that they have for Joshua and his leadership, the people who led under him, like
Hmm.
it's I think when you have, like that, like they always say, like the people in most instances are going to respond to their leadership,
Hmm.
um yeah, and I mean that doesn't mean that it's easy for the leader, but you just see like, hey, like Joshua's alive. Don't put up, don't set your idols up, okay? Like Joshua's still alive, man. Don't do that. That's
Yeah.
disrespect.
Yeah.
Like, you know how he feels. He's serving God. Like, don't do that. Don't do that in front of Joshua.
Right. Right.
Um, like it's kind of funny, but kind of sad too. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I just like as you were talking about just this story, like if it ended here, and like at this point they're like I mentioned last week, like they're at peace, being able to enjoy their promise. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
And that's what we want is to be at peace, enjoying the promises of God. Um, but yeah, like I said, unfortunately, there's other books. Not unfortunately, but unfortunately, their story doesn't end there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can't blame Joshua though. Joshua tells him, like verse 20, if you forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods, then he will turn and do you harm and consume you after having done you good.
Yeah.
Like, how much does that break God's heart? Like, I brought you all this way. I
Hmm.
set you up with all this good, and because you refuse to obey, I have to turn right around and and evict you, put you out. You know, I
Yeah.
I I I set this land up for you to enjoy. Like you said, gave you peace, and now
Hmm.
I have to put you out
Yeah.
because you won't act right. Like, I'm not just gonna let you stay here and like as the kids would say, you're not just gonna turn up here and I'm gonna just go, well, no, I can't do nothing. Like, no, I'm gonna put you out.
Right.
Like, want to? That's not my intention. That's not my heart for you, but that is exactly what will happen.
Yeah.
And you and your false gods, your idol gods will get put out.
Right.
Oh, yeah, crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, anything else, Rich?
That's pretty much it for me.
Okay, all right. So, having finished the book of Joshua, Richard and myself and Darnell, uh, we are going to take a brief hiatus, a little break. So we will take, we will not be doing the morning high five for the month of July. We will come back first Monday in August. Okay. So July, if you're looking for the morning high five, it'll be on hiatus. We have a plethora of previous morning high fives for you to look at, peruse. But yeah, we're gonna take July off, kind of recharge, and come back strong if God says the same in August. And we're gonna go into the Book of Judges. So this hiatus actually gives you a chance to read ahead,
Yeah.
read the book of Judges. That's what we're going to be doing. So yeah, we appreciate you supporting us and rolling with us this far. And we'll see you again in the month of August. Okay.
Yes.
As always, your comments to this video, we always appreciate them. Have a good day.